Hey guys, TLS here inside Guild Wars 2. I am in the final beta weekend for Heart of Thorns, and I would like to show you all of the changes that are coming to professions in Heart of Thorns, specifically talking about the elite specializations. Right now I am on a Guardian, and I would like to show you the elite specialization of the Dragonhunter. Now each elite specialization kind of brings a little bit of a change to your class. It brings in some new utility skills. It gives you a new weapon, and we're going to look at all three of those things, and then we'll also look into the actual elite specialization tree. So the big change for Dragon Hunters is going to be in your virtues. Your virtues have all changed. If I go into the talent tree section here, you can see if I were to switch off of Dragon Hunter, like into Honor here, you can see my virtues change. They're no longer there. So they go back to the way they normally are. You know, your passive is going to be the same both ways, but your active abilities is where it really changes. So your active goes back to the way it was, but then when you switch into Dragon Hunter, it switches into the new ones. Now notice that I cannot switch into the elite specialization in the top two. You can only do it in the bottom here. So I'm going to switch to Dragon Hunter. You can see they have changed. And whatever changes for your elite specialization, it's usually marked in this very first minor talent that they have here. So just pick 3 talents right there, get that out of the way. And taking a look at these new virtues that they have. So virtue, basically the passive is still there, but the active is different. For the first one, you have Spear of Justice. You hurl a spear of light that passes through foes, and enemies struck become tethered and receive burning periodically. So I'll go ahead and use this as my example. Fire a spear and see how I'm chained. Does burning damage, you can see down here. Pretty decent. The second ability is going to be Wings of Resolve. You leap to a target area, healing allies in that area. So I'm going to go ahead, pop this out here, fly forward, deal healing in a burst area. Pretty cool. The last is going to be Shield of Courage, which you create a shield in front of you that blocks projectiles for you and your allies, and you grant Aegis to nearby allies. This is kind of cool because it follows your kind of character movement and eyesight. So as I activate it here, you will kind of see as I move back and forth, it kind of, it follows where my character is, and it just blocks projectiles coming through. So it's really kind of different, and I like kind of the more, I can see more of what's going on in these, virtues as opposed to the ones that you're normally given. That's one thing I really like about it. So moving along, the new utility skills given to a Dragon Hunter are going to be traps. So you get 4 new traps is your main utility skills. You get a medic or a healing trap, and then you get an elite trap. So going through, first is Fragments of Faith. You lay a trap that deals damage and unleashes multiple fragments into the area when triggered. Each fragment grants Aegis to allies as long as they don't already have Aegis. So go ahead and lay this down so you can see. And I get Aegis, and then notice they have little Aegis bubbles here now all over the place. So pretty cool. Does damage, gives protections, really nice. The second one is Light's Judgment. You lay down a trap that creates an area of pure light and reveals enemies and pierces their armor. This is really flashy. I really like this trap, just because of the fireworks show it does. It's like a beam cannon, constantly revealing, as you can see, and constantly applying those vulnerabilities. Plenty of damage, and it lasts for a long time, so really kind of a cool trap. Think of this as like the counter to like a massive veil, people veiling and heading through towards someone. You can just plop this down and it'll constantly peg and reveal people, which is pretty awesome. The last trap here in this, well, of these 3, there's still one more, is Procession of Blades, which is a straight damage trap. Set a trap that whirls around and damages enemies when activated. So plop this down, you can see plenty of damage. Lots of damage there. Let me go and finish this guy off so I can get the other traps in. Let me show you the medic trap while we wait for the reset. Heal yourself and imbue your light into a trap. Heal enemies that trigger this trap are damaged and blinded as the light returns to you for a second heal. So I go ahead and place this down here. You can see the trap right here. It healed me, but since it wasn't activated, it did not provide the second bit. It did not provide the extra trap heal and the damage. But doing this shows you the area of effect of traps. This is the same area of effect of all traps that they will be given. The trap that I didn't show you is going to be Test of Faith, and it is lay a trap that creates rings of weapons that punish enemies that attempt to cross their thresholds. Cripples them, does a lot of damage. I'll go ahead and show it to you right here. You can see anybody who crosses these blade thresholds deals damage. Pretty cool design. They really brought out the fireworks and special effects for these traps. And I'll go ahead and show you the medic trap right here actually being activated here. Just small damage, extra heal. That's basically it. The last trap here is Dragon's Maw. You lay a trap that pulls enemies and creates a barrier that holds them in. So I'm going to put it off to the side here. It's going to drag this golem to the side, but the golem kind of auto being centered in this circle is going to keep trying to go back, but you'll see the initial pull. Go ahead and put it right here. You can see it drags him back. Keeps trying to drag it back. But that is the elite skill, the elite trap skill that is given for traps. For the Dragonhunter, it's kind of, you know, just AoE radius, pull everyone in. It's a kind of nice utility skill to have. Now, with the Dragonhunter comes the ability to wield a longbow, which is pretty cool. It gives kind of a, you know, range that Guardians really have never had. They've had the staff, but it really hasn't provided the type of range that a 1200 yard longbow is going to be able to give them, and that's what it does. So the longbow, the first ability is Puncture Shot. Fire an arrow that bounces between enemies, or bounces to a second enemy basically, and if an arrow hits a second target, all the enemies that were struck are crippled. So it functions somewhat more or less like the short bow thieves first. It's a ricochet. So I'll fire it right here. You can see normal damage. Let me go ahead and show you down here with this grouping here. You can see hit multiple enemies and crippling them. Pretty cool. The second ability is going to be True Shot. Charge up enemy, creating a powerful attack that pierces through enemies. So I'll go ahead and use it right here on this one. Simple shot. Very powerful, straightforward, simple. It's kind of like taking a Ranger number 2 longbow and taking all of the shots and just putting them into one, except for it's not as powerful. But it will pierce through everything. So as you can see right here, I'll fire this. I was too close to the edge here. Hang on. We'll fire right here. Very short cooldown. As you can see, it pierces through everything. Pretty cool. Third ability is Deflecting Shot. Fire a missile that blinds enemies and destroys projectiles. Destroying a projectile increases the damage dealt. Now, this is a little bit different. This is something we haven't seen in Guild Wars 2. You see this arrow kind of flying out. It's a directional arrow skill shot type of thing. It's really kind of cool. So, I'll fire it out. You can see just fires across just like that. Now this will hug the ground. So even though we kind of have some rubble here and so forth, it will hug the ground the entire way and then hit those guys on the ground. So I'll go ahead and fire it, and you'll see it kind of just travels downward. The fourth item here is your symbol. Pretty much every Guardian weapon skill has some type of symbol built in, and it is Symbol of Energy. Fire a slow arcing arrow that explodes on impact to burn targets and sear a symbol of energy in the ground. So I'll go ahead and fire this off here. You're going to see a lot of fire damage here. I'm going to do a little bit away from the druid there. A lot of damage right there. Pretty cool. A lot of fire damage. The last ability functions very much like Icebow 4 or a Ranger's Longbow 5. You're going to volley off a hail of arrows, but then it's also going to create a barrier and cripple them. So this is one of the most flashy abilities that they've ever put in the game. You're going to see, I'll fire this off right here. Starts off normal, and then it explodes and cases everyone in that area. Really awesome ability. You can see all the chains and whatnot locking people in. Really like that ability. Those are the 5 longbow abilities. Really provides a lot of support, but also giving you a lot of damage in compensation for it. I'm really enjoying having range on my Guardian. It's a lot of fun. Now, last thing to look at before we go is the talents that come with the Elite Specialization. Now, as I mentioned, the first really just kind of explains what you're getting by switching to the Elite stance, so that's not too much of a big deal. The first set of abilities, the first you have is Piercing Light, traps dazed enemies when activated, and also have reduced recharge times. So, pretty basic and standard. The second, and that is called Piercing Light. The second is called Dulled Senses, and enemies you knock back are crippled, and enemies you cripple are also inflicted with vulnerability. This actually synergizes really well with a talent that comes later on. It pretty much guarantees that with your one ability, you're pretty much always crippling everyone that comes near you. So you can stay at range with a Guardian pretty well. Your third is going to be Soaring Devastation. Wings of Resolve, so your F2, will deal damage upon landing. And it'll also create an Immobilize. So that's actually pretty cool to have. But, so you'll have the burst heal, and then at the same time you'll also have some damage and some immobilization. Your second minor is going to be Defender's Dogma. Blocking an attack causes Justice to reach its maximum charge. The second set of talents here for the Elite Specialization, the first is going to be Hunter's Determination. Gain Aegis and drop a Fragments of Faith trap at your location when you are inflicted with stun, daze, knockback, pull, knockdown, taunt, float, fear, launch, or sink. Fragments of Faith is the trap that gives you Aegis all over the place, so this is really just a massive defensive ability there for Dragonhunters. The second is going to be Zealot's Aggression. Deal extra damage to crippled enemies. Justice passive effect also cripples enemies. So you have Justice crippling, you have Puncture Shot that's crippling, and then you have Dulled Senses. I mean, it's just, you're crippling and putting vulnerability on everyone. This is really kind of a cool ability that just synergizes with everything. Last is going to be Bulwark. Your Shield of Courage is larger and lasts longer. That is your, if you've already forgotten, that is your third virtue down here, Shield of Courage. Your third minor is Pure of Sight. Deal bonus damage, to enemies beyond the range threshold. So damage increase 10%, range threshold 360. Know that this works with, stuff like the staff too, which is beyond 360. 360 is a pretty short threshold. So that's actually pretty cool. I think there are even some, that even works with some abilities that have some long range in them. I think possibly the hammer has a long ranged ability in it. Doesn't do too much damage, but once it goes past 360, you do get that extra damage increase. Now your last three abilities, you have Hunter's Fortification, which removes conditions when blocking attacks. You also receive less damage when you have no conditions on you. Purely defensive, awesome, 1 second cooldown. I can see this being used a lot. Heavy Light. Longbow arrows knock back when enemies are within the range threshold and gain stabilities when you knock them back. Talk about having a lot of stability, and then also crippling them all over the place as well. So that's actually really cool. I mean, they have a lot of stuff in the Dragonhunter tree that synergizes really well with a longbow, which makes sense because of the new ability coming in. But do take note that just because you choose a Dragonhunter, it does not mean that you have to use a bow. I mean, you can still run Greatsword Hammer if you want. The last ability is going to be Big Game Hunter. Striking an enemy tethered by your Spear of Justice causes vulnerability and increases damage dealt. So, damage increase, vulnerability, all from Spear of Justice. Really cool. Otherwise, that's pretty much everything regarding Dragonhunter, the new Elite Specialization for Guardians in Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns. It is a lot of fun, one of my favorite Elite Specializations. I'm sure there will be a lot of people out there using it. It's really a great range support type of thing, still that can deal out a decent amount of damage, so it's really cool. I love that it's 1200 yards. Guardians really have never had 1200 yards before. So that is everything dealing with Dragonhunters. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope to see you guys out there. I will see you guys later. Cheer this out.